find the location okay today?
Yeah, I'm not all the greatest with directions, but yeah.
Okay. And do you prefer to go by Mrs. Osborne or do you prefer to go by Rachel?
Rachel.
Okay. Well, Rachel, today we are going to be meeting for about 10 minutes just to go over some of the basic guidelines of this session and then for me to hear a little bit more about your story. So we will be meeting in this space every session that you come, and even though today we're only meeting for 10 minutes, typically we'll be meeting for about 50 minutes.
Okay.
And everything that you say here will be completely confidential, kept between you and me, with the exception of if you are going to cause harm to someone else or yourself, then I have to report that. And if there's any cases of child or elder abuse, I would have to report that as well. But other than that, everything is safe and kept here in a locked, confidential file, so you'll be good to go. So, will you tell me a little bit about what brought you in here today?
Well, I'm coming in because I just recently moved out of my house, and I've been having a lot of issues with my mom. She keeps calling me repeatedly, like every single day. And I've tried turning off my phone, so she emails me. And it's not like the normal mother-daughter, like, oh, I miss you, you know, whatever, even though calling or emailing every day probably wouldn't be considered normal either. But it's more like, yelling at me about ridiculous stuff like, oh, you forgot your hat at my house. Oh, you owe us this much for this food you've eaten, which was like, you told me I could eat everything at your house for free. While I was living there, I was a teenager.
Yeah.
You know, so she keeps like calling and trying to like get me to pay for all this stuff, and keeps like emailing me and sending me all these random things, and it's kind of just like, it's really starting to get frustrating when I can't even go to my email inbox without seeing, like, even the headlines on my stupid little emails are really irritating. And then I see her when we go to church. She's been randomly dropping by and harassing my roommates. I mean, she's like, I've turned off my phone, so she's resorted to calling my boyfriend instead. Or my sister. Or texting them. I didn't even know she could text. And pretty much it's been back and forth between, you're an ungrateful daughter, you're not paying us back for stuff you owe us. I mean, it's just like constant stupid little things, or we're having to deal with crap you left at our place type stuff, which is like, I moved out, I took my stuff with me.
Yeah.
And like I said, as far as the food and stuff goes, my dad was like, yeah, you can eat whatever you want here. I don't care.
Yeah.
You're welcome here. You know, and even once you move out, you're still welcome back. We're not going to expect you to pay for things. It's not like they're short on money or anything like that. My dad has a really good job. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Bless you.
You know, and I'm trying to go to school and go to college and all this other stuff. And the thing is, like, my dad's paying for part of my school, and I'm really grateful for that. But at the same time, my mom's holding it over my head as like, well, you have to do this, that, and the other thing for us. And it's like, I thought this was just a gift.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting any of that from my dad. He's more just, I don't think he even realizes it's happening. But it's just very, very frustrating. Because it seems like every single time I feel like I've got a moment of peace, it gets interrupted. And even I've missed calls from work because I've had my phone off, so that I don't get random calls from her, because I've gotten calls more than once a day at some points. And it's like, I just don't want to listen to this. So I've got caller ID on my phone, so I'm leaving it on now. But it's getting to the point where it puts me in a bad mood even to see that she's calling. Which I know is probably dumb, and I just need to get over that. But, yeah, it does, so.
Yeah. So it sounds like your relationship with your mom is pretty frustrating right now. You verbalized that it was frustrating. What was your relationship with your mom like when you did live in the home?
Terrible. Like, I'd stay out late, not like late, like midnight type late, and she'd be calling and freaking out about where I was. One time I got snowed in on my hill because we live up on a mountain, and my boyfriend, well, he wasn't my boyfriend at the time, but he was a friend of mine, and one of my good friends, they both decided that they were going to drive up the hill and rescue me and take me to school. My friend who is driving doesn't always have the best common sense. He has really good intentions, but they don't always play out. And he drove up in a Tercel.
Oh.
Yeah, they couldn't make it back.
Yeah.
So, you know, we told my mom, and he didn't bring chains either. There was that much ice on the road. I love him to death. Like, it was like, oh, that's really sweet, but at the same time, that was really stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it was just one of those things where it's like, guess you're still 18.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, they forgot chains, and we have an Echo, which is about the same size as their Tercel, and the tires are about the same. My mom wouldn't let him borrow the chains off the Echo to use to drive back down.
Oh.
Instead, she got mad at us for him driving up. She was like, why? She was yelling at me, like, why didn't you stop him from doing that? Why didn't you? It's like, because I didn't know he was coming until they were already over halfway up the hill.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to tell him then? Oh, yeah, by the way, turn around. Goodbye. My mom will get pissed off and scream at you. Yeah, no. I couldn't tell him that at that point. He was most of the way there. And so, like, she was screaming at me and frustrated, and she's finally like, well, fine, I'll drive you guys down. And my friend was like, we can just borrow the chains and we can drive ourselves down, because he didn't want to have to leave his car up there. Because that was back when we had like the big snowstorm where it was kind of everywhere. So like, it was bad on my hill and bad down the hill, and you know, so he wanted to get his car back because he knew he probably wouldn't get it back for a while if he didn't. And she flat out refused to give him the chains. Like, point blank refused to give him the chains, and then complained about having to drive us down, and sat in the car and yelled at me the entire time. And like, both my boyfriend and my friend, because like we were in the Suburban, and so there are 2 seats in the back seat and 2 front seats, so it's like 2 in the back seat. And I was sitting in the center of the back seat, and they were sitting right up there. And like, my mom was turning around and looking at me and yelling and calling me stupid and, you know, all this other stuff, and calling my friends stupid, and like, just constantly yelling. And I mean, like, it was, and then once I was at WSU, she called and was yelling at me about it. And then when we were driving back, she was yelling at me about it, because like, when she dropped me off at WSU, my boyfriend and his friend decided to walk to a tire shop to get chains so he could put chains on his car and drive down. And so when my mom came back, they weren't right there. They were about 10 minutes away. And so she was screaming at me about that and everything. And it's like, I'm sorry, I haven't seen them since we dropped them off. Do you think I have like mind control on them? I have no control over them. And you're the one who wouldn't let them borrow the chains to drive down in the first place anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sorry, they're 18-year-old boys. Sometimes they do dumb stuff. It's just kind of the way it is. Live with it. But she was yelling at me so much, I finally started crying in the middle of the school cafeteria, which does not happen. I don't, like, start crying in public. And yeah, it was just, that's what life with my mom was like, and it's like I moved out to get away from that,
Yeah.
and it feels like it's just following me.
So, you talked about your mom yelling at you with the whole Tercel situation. How do you respond when she yells at you?
I was